You don't know what this is, do you? Aztec gold. The heathen gods placed upon the gold a terrible curse. 10 years we've searched. Every last piece we have found, save for this. Hello, Bobby.
They've taken Elizabeth.
Welcome aboard the Black Pearl.
We must save her. Where do we start?
Jack Sparrow. He talked about the Black Pearl.
Make a deal with him. He can lead us to it.
You forget your place. You are a blacksmith.
If you spring me from this cell, I shall take you to the Black Pearl and your bonny lass.
You're a pirate.
Forgot one very important thing, mate. I'm Captain Jack Sparrow. Not sure I deserve it. You're not facing normal pirates. Cruel, demented, vicious pirates, to be certain.
Say goodbye. Goodbye.
But cruel, demented, vicious pirates who cannot be killed. The moonlight shows us for what we really are. That's interesting. We are cursed men.
I hardly believe in ghost stories anymore.
You best start believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner. You're in one. Jets, you all remember Captain Jack Sparrow. Kill him. I'm gonna teach you the meaning of pain.
You like pain? Try wearing a corset.
Here they come.
Pirates of the Caribbean. The Curse of the Black Pearl.
I may have deserved that.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome one and all to the third week of Parks Month on Escape from Walt Disney, the podcast where we review movies, TV shows, and short films available on Disney Plus, chosen mostly completely at random. I am your host, Tony Goldmark. Joining us today via Zoom, all the way from Burbank, California, Knott's Berry Farm performer Chris Nebergall.
Avast, ye hearties!
All the way from San Pedro, California, Disneyland cast member Sydney Agnew.
Elizabeth Swann and Will Turner were my bisexual awakening.
And joining us for the very first time on Escape from Walt Disney, all the way from South Bay, California, you know her as the live-action Belle cosplayer in my 2019 D23 Expo video. You know her as a coffee-addicted crazy porg lady, and of course you know her as the human equivalent of a sound effect. Please welcome Disneyland cast member Ayaka Matsuoka!
Hello, it's great to be here. I did not come up with any Pirates of the Caribbean related puns.
And like I said, this is our third week of Parks Month because you listeners demanded it, which is why we got a couple of bona fide Disneyland cast members on this episode. And before we get into this week's exciting topic, what exactly is everyone's connections to theme parks in general and the Disney parks in particular?
Well, I, of course, grew up in Southern California. I have been a Disneyland pass holder at many stages of my life. I've lost count of how many times I've been to Disneyland. I've also been to Walt Disney World a couple times and even Disneyland Paris. So one day I will see them all. I'm a huge theme park nerd. I'm obsessed with the entire medium of themed entertainment. I have a YouTube series that I haven't updated in years exploring said topic, and it's even kind of steered my career. I work at a theme park at Knott's Berry Farm, arguably because of my love of the medium.
Our story is kind of interconnected. So
Yeah.
Ayaka and I we work together at the parks. We are kind of known as the chaotic duo because when we are together, like crazy things happen. So if you see us on Main Street, especially together, just expect trouble. For me, same thing. You know, I grew up going to Disneyland, and then when I was in college, I finally got my annual pass. And After that, it was, okay, you got to get a job. So it was Disney or nothing. So I ended up starting my career at Walt Disney World and then moved over to Disneyland. And that's where I met Ayaka. We have done half of the world's theme parks together. We have done Tokyo Disneyland together in 2019, which was amazing. And last year we took a trip to Walt Disney World for Ayaka's first time. So that was a lot of fun. We're hoping to do all of them together at some point.
Some people say that they get abducted by aliens. In my case, I think I was secretly abducted by Disney executives. So Disney just runs in my veins now at this point.
Now, is this a repressed memory? Do we need to call the cops or something?
I don't know. I'm getting flashbacks every now and then, you know?
You were one of those kids who got lost on It's a Small World.
Because that's going to be just more ammunition for the QAnon people. Abducted by Disney executives, grrr!
What else is new? Same as pretty much everyone else since I was born and raised in Southern California. Disney's right there. We were one of those annual pass holders that went like every week. I grew up with the movies. I can pretty much quote entire Disney movies I haven't even seen in years. It kind of scares some people sometimes, including myself.
Well, like I said, this is our third week of Parks Month, and the randomizer has truly blessed us with quite possibly the best case scenario of everything on the Parks Month shortlist.
The gods have blessed us.
They really have.
We got the very first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl from 2003.
Yes.
I think it's pretty much universally agreed the best movie ever made based on a Disney theme park ride.
By far.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Although I did like Jungle Cruise quite a bit. Jungle Cruise is probably the other good one.
Yeah.
Jungle Cruise was quite a bit of fun, and I watched it with a former Jungle Cruise cast member.
I know tons of skippers. They tend to wind up as train bandits and other sorts of things at Knott's Berry Farm as well. Go figure. So I have a lot of Jungle Cruise fan buddies as well who loved that movie just as much.
Mileage seemed to vary a lot more on Jungle Cruise, but I also really liked it. I would rank that as the second best movie based on a theme park ride. But the first Pirates movie is one of those kind of miracle movies where just everything works.
It's lightning in a bottle.
And you're not even quite sure why, because when this was about to come out, there was almost no buzz for it. The buzz was just, what, a movie based on a theme park ride? That's stupid. So many people were just aghast at that very notion. And to be fair, up to that point, the only theatrical movie based on a theme park ride, unless you count the made-for-TV Tower of Terror movie or the kind of in-name only theme park adaptation Mission to Mars, neither of which are on Disney Plus, unfortunately. But up to that point, the only theatrical movie based on a theme park ride was The Country Bears.
Which was earlier that same year, I think, right?
It was the year before,
Yeah.
I want to say.
Country Bears was 2002.
Okay.
And also when you consider that not only had The Country Bears flopped the previous year, Treasure Planet had flopped the previous year.
Yeah.
So Disney had a really bad track record with both movies based on theme parks and movies about pirates. It was like a certainty that this would lose like $100 million for the mouse, and yet it spawned their biggest franchise ever up to that point.
It was kind of their first successful blockbuster franchise that could compete with the Harry Potters and the Lord of the Rings and the Spider-Man out there before they bought Star Wars, before they bought Marvel, before they had any of that empire. Pirates was the thing that proved, oh, we don't just make kids' movies.
Yeah, and Eisner was always looking for that. His entire career at Disney, ever since he joined the company in 1984, that was his big white whale, because he'd had one at Paramount with the Indiana Jones movies.
And the Star Trek franchise.
Yeah, and Star Trek. So he was always looking for that at Disney. I mean, one could argue that the Disney animation renaissance was Disney's equivalent of a big blockbuster franchise of movies that everyone went to go see. But he was always looking for a live-action one, too. He tried with Dick Tracy, it didn't really work. They tried with The Rocketeer, it didn't really work. They tried with a couple others. Finally, they got one with Pirates, but of course, couple of things. It came out only 2 years before Eisner left the company, so didn't really help his standing there. It also didn't make Eisner look good because Pirates was a movie that he didn't have a lot of faith in. He didn't think it would work, and he came very close to canceling the movie. In fact, there was a point in its pre-production when he just looked at the budget for the damn thing and said, this costs way too much, we're not making this. And he literally went to their production offices just to tell them, we're done, we're not doing this movie anymore. And it was Jerry Bruckheimer, of course the producer, who convinced him otherwise, who just talked him out of shutting them down and let them proceed with the movie. And of course, it became one of Disney's biggest live action hits ever up to that point.
Didn't they do a bit of production without him knowing as well at some point? Like, didn't they just forge ahead with some stuff he'd told them not to do?
I think that might have happened too. And only Bruckheimer would have had the clout to do that, to just openly defy the studio head like that. Because Bruckheimer just believed in the project, and rightly so. And of course, that gave Bruckheimer a bit of a swelled head, which led to some of his projects later on, like The Lone Ranger.
Let's not forget G-Force.
We don't talk about G-Force.
How the Mighty Fall.
I actually remember opening weekend when this came out, I tried to see it and the screening was sold out. And I remember being really surprised that this many people want to see a Pirates of the Caribbean movie?
Especially if you saw the teaser for it, which is one of the weirdest teasers I think I've ever seen. I remember being 6 years old, strapped to my chair at the El Capitan Theater for, I forgot what movie we were seeing. I specifically remember this teaser for Pirates of the Caribbean. And it's literally just this bad CGI island just throwing all these weird taglines out there.
I remember that too. It's literally just footage of islands.
And then at the very end, you see a skull and crossbones. It just says, Pirates of the Caribbean, coming summer 2003. Everybody in the theater just had the most confused look on their face. They're really making a movie about the Pirates ride at Disneyland?
People kept saying, oh, you can't make a movie based on a theme park ride. And my attitude was always, well, why not? I mean, people adapt movies based on books, and that's just injecting visuals into words. Why not do the opposite? Why not take the tableaus you'd see on a ride and build the story around them? And this movie really provided the blueprint on how to effectively pull that off. A blueprint which unfortunately was ignored for a while. Basically, it took until Jungle Cruise for someone to use that blueprint to pretty decent ends again.
Yeah, the blueprint is look at what inspired the ride and use that to inspire the movie. This took those old Errol Flynn pirate movies, which had inspired the ride, and then Jungle Cruise said, okay, well, what's the origin of the Jungle Cruise? It's the African Queen. Mm-hmm. Those old safari movies. We're going to do one of those.
And didn't this movie premiere at the park?
It did.
It did.
Yes.
They set up stands and projected it on Rivers of America or something.
Like that. Yeah.
They set up a gigantic screen on Tom Sawyer Island, right where Phantasmic takes place, and they set up grandstands all along the Rivers of America, kind of right in front of the actual attraction. You'd think they'd do something reasonable, like do it in the Hyperion Theater over there at DCA, but they thought, no, it's got to premiere right where it started, right in front of the attraction.
That must have been such a crowd control nightmare.
Oh, I'm sure.
As a cast member, I'm just like, wow, the GSO for that day must have just been the worst day imaginable.
And I've seen the footage of, the red carpet up and down Main Street.
Yes.
To try to get guests around that shit. My God.
Which is so funny, because we just did the premiere of Jungle Cruise at Disneyland too back in July, and that was not nearly as crazy as what I imagined.
But I mean,
Pirates
we were
was.
at Main Street. We weren't where it was taking place.
But the fact that they used Main Street for the original Pirates premiere is one of the craziest things to imagine.
Basically, they just reserved the whole park for just a whole red carpet event.
So they didn't do the Main Street red carpet thing for Jungle Cruise?
No.
Okay.
They just had...
Probably wise in COVID era.
Yeah, pretty much.
That too.
They had it at the Fantasyland Theater since that's not being used for anything at the moment.
They did still have a semi-red carpet over in front of the Jungle Cruise ride.
And then moved them up to Fantasyland. And then I remember walking, because I closed Mad Hatter that night, so I remember walking through the park, and they still had the after party going on in Adventureland. They were still partying it up at 1 a.m.
And we should talk a little about the original Pirates ride. First opened at Disneyland in 1967. It was the first ride to open after Walt Disney's death, but it only opened a few months after his death, so he still had tremendous involvement over it. originally pitched as a walkthrough tour, I believe.
Yes, they excavated the basement under New Orleans Square for a wax museum. And when they did It's a Small World and discovered that ride system they could use, the concept obviously expanded. And so that basement area is filled only with the first half and the very ending of the ride now.
And the rest was, of course, built beyond the berm, which is why you've got that waterfall drop to take you under the train tracks. But then when Walt Disney World was being built in the late 60s, early 70s, they thought, well, Florida is so close to the actual Caribbean that it just wouldn't feel exotic enough to clone pirates here. So what they were working on instead was a ride for Frontierland that Mark Davis had designed called the Western River Expedition. But they didn't have enough money to finish Western River Expedition in time for Disney World's opening in 71. So they're like, okay, that'll be phase 2. But they found that when Disney World opened, a lot of guests were clamoring for a Pirates. They were like, why isn't there a Pirates? You have all these other rides that are at Disneyland. Why don't you have a Pirates ride? To the point where I think it was Card Walker who was in charge at the time, because this was right after Roy died. He said, build a Pirates, but we don't have enough money to build an exact clone. Well, just build whatever you can, which is why the Pirates in Florida is so much shorter and not as good.
You can thank me for not subjecting Ayaka to the Disney World version.
I was like, should I write it?
I was like, no, if you want to be disappointed, go ahead.
Fine, People Mover it is.
Yes, People Mover, we'll do that again.
And then I loved it.
Yay, People Mover. See, to me, if you're in Florida in the first place, it's not that it's not worth riding, you just gotta prepare yourself for the fact that it's gonna be disappointing compared to the California one.
See, I didn't know that it was going to be inferior. Like, nobody prepared me for it. So when we got on it, and there's only one drop, and they don't have the beginning scenes with the skeletons.
Oh.
They got a couple of skeletons, but they're before the drop, and there's no Blue Bayou restaurant. And then after the drop, you're immediately at the ship attacking the fortress.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it just kind of abruptly ends because it doesn't have the end show where the pirates are shooting at each other with the explosives.
You go past the jail scene, you go past Jack Sparrow with all his gold, and then you immediately exit. There's not even a rise back up.
Huh.
It was really disappointing. My dad called it Pirates of Half a Caribbean. I had friends from Florida who came to California for the first time, and they were like, oh, so that's where that scene in the movie comes from, the part where Barbosa drinks the rum and it's going down his skeleton chest.
Yep.
So that's not in the Florida version.
Basically, the Florida version is fine as long as you lower your expectations.
All right.
The one thing I will say that the Florida version has over the California version is the queue.
Yes.
I do think the queue is better in Florida because it creates some of the initial atmosphere that's missing from the actual ride in Florida.
I agree, but I wouldn't wait 50 minutes for an inferior version of Pirates just to go through the queue. So
now, I will definitely one day, for sure, go to the Shanghai Pirates ride.
Yes.
That looks amazing.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Because that's actually based on these movies, right?
Yeah.
even the Tokyo version is one of the only attractions that still uses the original audio from the 60s.
Yes.
So it is one of the only attractions at Tokyo Disney that is mostly in English. And they never got rid of their auction scene. So if you still want to see Scarlet Harlot, she is in the Tokyo version.
Plus, the pirates are chasing the women still in that one.
Yeah.
I think that's because Tokyo Disney is not owned by the Disney Company, technically.
They are not. Yeah. They're owned by Oriental Land.
So they can't make that call, which is the same reason Splash Mountain isn't closing over there.
Right, right.
Quick fun fact about Western River Expedition that ties back to Pirates in a way. Part of that project was also going to be a mine train coaster that went around the existing ride. Tony Baxter took over that project, turned it into Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, and they ended up building that exclusively in place of where Western River Expedition was going to be along Magic Kingdom's Rivers of America.
Yep.
And that pissed off Mark Davis even more.
Yeah.
After that, Tony Baxter was the project lead for Disneyland Paris, which has by far the best Pirates of the Caribbean.
Better than Shanghai's?
Well, I consider the Shanghai one a completely different attraction because it's a different ride system, it's a different story, it's its own thing. As far as the conventional Pirates of the Caribbeans go, the Paris one is gangbusters.
Oh, that's a fair assessment.
Now, of course, we can't talk about the Pirates of the Caribbean movies without talking about Mr. Johnny Depp. And it's easy to forget this, but before the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, Johnny Depp was really respected as an actor.
Yeah, he was an indie actor. He was not a big movie star. And I think this movie wrongfully turned him into a movie star, because if you look at his career post this movie, it's a whole lot of bad choices and bad performances.
It's a whole lot of trying to recapture the Jack Sparrow magic. And that's another thing Eisner didn't like about the movie. He wanted to fire Johnny Depp after he saw the first couple dailies. He was like, what the hell is he doing? He's not acting like a pirate. He's acting like Keith Richards. That's stupid. And of course, that ended up being a big lightning in a bottle aspect of what made the movie work. It was just a weird choice from Johnny Depp that somehow clicked. I don't even know if anyone knows why it clicked.
It's kind of magic insofar as on one side of the movie, to counterbalance him, you have Orlando Bloom playing this extremely classical Errol Flynn type character.
Absolutely.
And Elizabeth, they kind of bring the classic pirate movie energy. And then Johnny Depp is the dose of spice.
Right.
There's a quote from Jerry Bruckheimer in the making of one of the pirate sequels, where he says that the reason Jack Sparrow can't completely lead the movie, they changed their mind on that later, is that it would be like a garlic milkshake. He's the garlic. He can't be the milk.
He works much better as the Han Solo than as the Luke Skywalker.
Exactly.
Yes,
right.
very much so. I think what a lot of people seem to forget about the first movie is it's not even his movie. It's not even Will's movie. This is Elizabeth's movie for the
Very
most
much.
part. She is the main character. She is who we are following.
Another thing that's easy to forget, this movie got Johnny Depp his first ever Oscar nomination. His first of now 3 so far. He also got nominations for Finding Neverland and Sweeney Todd. But it's crazy that within the space of literally a year, everyone went from saying, oh, a movie based on a theme park ride? That'll never work. To nominating a performance from a theme park ride movie.
Yeah.
It's so surreal. I want to say it's a well-deserved nomination because it's a brilliant performance, but it's also the reason why he ended up being typecast the way that he was afterwards. So it's kind of a curse, too.
The Curse of the Black Pearl.
The Curse of the Black Pearl. We solved it.
I mentioned that Eisner wanted to recast Jack Sparrow. I know I've mentioned this before on the podcast. Eisner's first choice to play Jack Sparrow was Matthew McConaughey.
That would have been a choice.
It would have been quite the unique disaster.
That's like, what is that one with Gina Davis? Was it Cutthroat Island?
Cutthroat Island.
I feel like it'd be like that level of disaster had we gotten McConaughey.
Well, that movie was such a famous disaster that it poisoned the whole pirate genre for years.
Until Pirates of the Caribbean.
It's kind of crazy in its own way that this movie was even made, let alone that it was such a huge hit.
I think all of us were in the zeitgeist when it came out. We were part of that phenomenon.
Oh, yeah.
I think what's going to be fun about watching this again is going back and seeing if anything gets recaptured from when we first sat in the theater and watched this for the first time as we doughy-eyed innocents but 19 years ago.
We don't have to spend too much time talking about the sequels to this movie, because generally they're not that great. In fact, I would posit that every Pirates of the Caribbean movie is somewhat less good than the one before.
Yeah, it's like a perfect sinking ship trajectory.
Exactly. The first one's the best, second one's pretty good, third one's kind of average, fourth one's bad, fifth one's really bad.
Yes.
I actually very much love movie 3.
Oh, okay.
I will defend movie 3 to my dying breath. First thing is the score. It has the best score out of all of the movies, to the point where they still use parts of the third movie's score in the parks. Movie 3 has at least the score going for it, and a pretty epic finale. And there are parts of 5 I will defend too, but 4 is a complete piece of dog shit.
There's just something very unique about the way they went with that second and third one. There's just something about it that I can't really dislike.
I really like what they're going for in the first 2 sequels. I respect the ambition of it, if not the actual execution of it. It was kind of a grand attempt at something really interesting and different, and it kind of failed just because they didn't have the time or possibly the talent to achieve what they were trying to pull off. But I have a lot of respect for what they were trying to pull off with those first 2 sequels.
They kind of tried to squeeze as much of Johnny Depp as they can in these movies, and I think they overdid it a bit.
I mean, the franchise is supposed to be called Pirates of the Caribbean, And I kind of get it because they know people want to see Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow. Who knows if they'll want to see some other character that we invent, that we try to make the new Jack Sparrow. Best to stick with what we know works. And I get that, but I also kind of wish they'd maybe switched up some of the other characters a bit more. Create a whole Pirates cinematic universe, if you will, and have a few characters that recur in various movies, but just mix it up a little bit more. But we're not talking about the sequels, we're talking about the first movie. We will be right back with our thoughts on the 2003 grand epic, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, right here on Escape from Walt Disney. Okay, we just watched Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. God damn, that was great.
Yes, it was.
That was so much fun.
Such a fun, brilliant adventure movie. It's so easy to forget how good this movie is. Nearly 20 years later, after all the sequels that range from to Jack Sparrow being added to the ride and Johnny Depp becoming more of a media figure, it's easy to forget the extent to which this masterpiece really is firing on all cylinders.
It really is lightning in a bottle, and I do think it's a perfect movie. It deserves to be ranked with Raiders of the Lost Ark, in my opinion, as one of the best adventure movies ever made. Everything came together.
It's so tight. Despite it being a 2.5-hour movie, there's nothing that feels unnecessary or without purpose. It deserves every bit that it has.
There's not a wasted scene. There's not a single moment that doesn't either set up or pay off character or plot. Which, again, I'm gonna shut up about the sequels, I promise, but especially considering how bloated the fucking sequels got, and they just became, hey, let's give Paul McCartney a cameo for no goddamn reason. The sheer tightness of this one really is remarkable and commendable, and it is just tonally fiercely unafraid to be an old-school style pirate swashbuckler, the likes of which Hollywood just wasn't making anymore.
Absolutely. And on the subject of it being kind of a classic old-style movie, have any of you seen Captain Blood?
I have not.
No.
Okay.
No.
I watched that recently. Captain Blood is an old Errol Flynn pirate movie from the 30s. If you watch that movie, you will go, oh, because that movie is the blueprint for Pirates of the Caribbean, both the ride and the movie. It's where the pirate ship fighting with cannons against the fort comes from. There's a ship-to-ship battle. There's pirates burning and ransacking a town. Tortuga is in that movie, depicted as this lawless place where everyone is just carrying on and fighting all the time. And this movie just lovingly rips off that movie as the original ride did, and it deepened my experience of this movie to watch it again after seeing Captain Blood.
So Curse of the Black Pearl is to Captain Blood what Star Wars is to the Hidden Fortress.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We didn't really mention the director that much in the preconceptions. Gore Verbinski, this was his fourth movie, and the first three were Mouse Hunt, The Mexican, and The Ring. So you got a slapstick comedy, a romantic adventure crime comedy, and a supernatural horror flick. Nothing much to suggest that he had a swashbuckler in him, but it's kinda all three of those combined into one. It's got the slapstick elements, it's got the romantic elements, it's got the supernatural horror elements, and again, everything works.
This movie really does masterfully juggle tone. It's got Python-esque, Looney Tunes kind of humor in it. It's got really scary moments. It's got the sincere, sweeping romance and somehow this cynical self-awareness at the same time, and it just all comes together.
I think there's two big X factors to this movie that really make it soar higher than it maybe would have ordinarily. One is Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow, just giving a beautifully gonzo performance. But everyone talks about Depp as Jack Sparrow. I think the really underrated component is the screenplay, which was mostly by Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio, although Stuart Beattie and Jay Wolpert both have story credit. But the Ted and Terry script is so fucking witty.
Yes.
There's so many amazing witticisms in this movie. But this is also one of Jerry Bruckheimer's very few... It might be the closest he's ever come to producing a writer-driven movie. Because most Bruckheimer movies, he's got like 30 writers all doing punch-up and contributing shit, and they're just rewritten over and over again. And there was a little of that here. Like I said, Ted and Terry rewrote the script by Wolpert and Beatty. But once they got their hands on it, Bruckheimer pretty much realized, okay, these guys get the exact tone we're going for, and they've got swashbuckler experience, having previously written The Mask of Zorro. I'm gonna pretty much leave them alone, and in fact, I'm even gonna bring them on set. They were on set when they were shooting this movie to contribute rewrites on the fly here and there.
Which is rare.
Especially rare for a Bruckheimer production. But I think that's a core component of what makes this work, which kind of sucks given how much of a fucking nut anti-vaxxer Terry Rossio has become in recent years, but we don't need to delve into that.
We won't.
Well, if I may offer my 2 cents on them, this movie had very conventional pirate movie drafts written by Jay Walpert and Stuart Beatty, and Ted and Terry kind of injected the quirk into it.
Yes.
They brought the brilliant, witty writing, the comedy, they brought the supernatural element in, and then they had exclusively Ted and Terry write the sequels, and what do you get but movies that are way too funny, way too quirky, and way too supernatural. Even sometimes the masterpiece ingredient, if you use too much of it, is going to spoil the souffle.
Weren't they writing the whole script on the fly, basically, for the sequels?
For the third one, they were, yeah. They kind of had time to finish the second script before they started rolling, but then the third one was just written on set.
Oh, God.
And it shows.
And you're absolutely right about it still needing that core story at the heart of it in order for it to still work. You're absolutely right that the problem with the sequels was that they got too off the deep end with the flourishes. It still needs a solid center, which this movie absolutely has.
Do you have the courage and fortitude to follow orders and stay brave in the sea? Oh, God, I hate this bloody line. We're the writers, I'm going to kill them.
Now, the title of this movie, as I'm sure you've noticed, is really long. Gore Verbinski didn't like the subtitle. He didn't like Curse of the Black Pearl because, first of all, it's kind of inaccurate. It's really the Aztec gold that's cursed. It's not the ship that's cursed. It's also weird that Disney even thought this movie needed a subtitle because they didn't know nor did they think this was going to get sequels. It was all set up to bomb. And Pirates of the Caribbean is already kind of a mouthful at 8 syllables without them adding 6 more. So I don't know why they did that, but in its own way, it did kind of work in hindsight.
If you think about it, it could be like one of the stories Elizabeth must have read, that the Black Pearl was the curse.
I suppose,
they are telling stories about the ship itself.
I've heard stories. She's been preying on ships and settlements for near 10 years. Never leaves any survivors.
No survivors? Then where do the stories come from, I wonder?
It felt like more of a legend as opposed to what it actually is, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I think all of them kind of had that going for them. Like Dead Man's Chest is more about the legend of what the chest means. At World's End, what does it mean to go off the world and go into that weird purgatory? Stranger Tides we don't talk about because it makes no sense.
That was the title of a novel.
Dead Men Tell No Tales, they're actually ghosts.
On Stranger Tides was based on a novel that had nothing to do with Pirates of the Caribbean, and they shoehorned it into the Pirates. Well, we don't need to talk about it.
No,
we
do
one
not
needs
need
to talk about on Stranger Tides.
I don't even know what we're talking about right now.
We were talking about
Bruno.
Curse of the Black Pearl.
Yes.
The only Pirates movie to exist.
That's the only one I know about.
Dead Man's Chest has its moments, but anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
One really interesting quirk of this movie, right out of the gate, no logo. No Disney logo, no Bruckheimer logo, just the title of the movie. I don't know exactly why they did that. It might have something to do with the fact that this was the first ever Walt Disney Pictures movie, as opposed to a Touchstone or Hollywood movie that was rated PG-13.
When I was watching this movie again just now, I was like, oh, yeah, this was darker than I remember.
People are dying.
Not gory per se, but
But it is brutal.
Not something you would see in like Little Mermaid or Lion King or something like that. You're like, oh my God.
According to the Wikipedia page, when they were about to release the movie, one of the Disney executives complained that it scared her 5-year-old. Which, I mean...
Good.
Yeah, exactly. Good.
Yes.
The pirate skeletons are supposed to be scary.
I was like 8 when this movie came out, and there were some scenes that are pretty scary as an 8-year-old. But I mean, that's kind of the point, and that's kind of what makes it fun, to be honest. Like, that monkey, when she's screaming on the deck, that scared the crap out of me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then when the pirates attack the British on the deck, and you don't see any blood, but like you hear the gurgling, and you see them slicing necks, and it's very brutal for what it is.
And I think they gave it a good balance. Like, every time they had a chunk of screen time where the pirates in their skeleton form showed up, it switches off to, like, Will and Jack in daytime to give people who might be a little too scared from it a little bit of a break.
So it earns that PG-13, but it doesn't go too far with it.
I mean, it would have been even more appropriate for a Pirates movie to be rated R, but Disney wasn't going to allow that, of course.
No.
Jeffrey Rush actually says R in this movie. I fucking love it.
Yes.
They got Oscar winner Jeffrey Rush to say R. It's so wonderful.
And it was so worth it.
It's so good.
Everybody talks about Johnny Depp's performance, but Jeffrey Rush's performance is so perfect.
Oh my God.
It's exactly what this movie needs for the antagonist. Every single second he's on screen.
He's loving it.
He's the counterbalance to Johnny Depp doing a much more postmodern Keith Richards take on a pirate, whereas Jeffrey Rush is pure old school pirate, with the pirate voice and the pet monkey and literally straight up saying "arr, arr." The entire cast is perfect. There's not a single bad actor. There's not a single miscast actor. Keira Knightley is fantastic as Elizabeth. I wouldn't want anyone else playing the role. Having said that, it is a little sketchy that when you look it up, she was only 17 when they shot this.
Yep.
I do keep forgetting about that, yeah.
And Orlando Bloom was 25.
Oof.
Mhm.
Oh, that's a big oof.
That's the problem going well back beyond the golden age of Hollywood, back into history.
Which is so sad because they have so much chemistry on screen
They
together.
do. They really do.
This also kind of was weird watching it again, how Norrington is still played by Jack Davenport in the flashback.
I was about to say that.
Is that supposed to be like why we don't really root for Norrington?
Well,
Is
yeah.
that why?
The fact that when we first see them together, like, he's already an adult and she's like 10.
Yeah.
And then later you see him propose to her. Red flags going off in your brain.
Yeah.
He's practically grooming her.
Yeah, which is why when Jack is like, I was always rooting for you. It's like, were you? Should you?
Well, he's being facetious in that moment, I think.
I mean, he doesn't know how old they are.
Whereas we see Elizabeth and Will as kids together.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
okay, they're the same age. Fine, even though they weren't in real life. But what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
And I do want to briefly comment on Jack Davenport as Norrington. Davenport is such a perfect, cold, sneering, disdainful, not even a villain, really, in this movie.
He's a foil. That's what he is. He's Jack's foil.
He's the perfect avatar of smug British imperialism.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's all he has to be, and he plays it to the hilt. It's so great.
And he's such a great counterpoint to Jonathan Pryce as the pompous, doughy governor. Emblematic of another aspect of British imperialism.
The upper-class twit of the year.
Yes.
But by God, he tries. He tries.
One of my favorite moments in the movie is when the battle ends and he emerges from his cabin.
Oh, God.
And he's cheering them on, and he goes up to that pirate who's been captured and just kind of does the fisticuffs thing.
Yes.
Wags the finger in his face.
Yes, it's so good.
You just want to smack the bastard.
I can't help but want to also pinch his cheeks, too. It's like,
Yeah,
it's
he's
so cute.
adorable.
I mean, to be fair, the man literally got his wig snatched.
Sure.
Taking him down a peg.
He fought hard to get that wig back.
And that's what I love, is that the movie has so many of these little touches.
But the fact that he's taunting these pirates after they've been defeated, and he spent the whole battle just hiding out in that room.
Yeah, fighting a hand.
In his defense, he's not a fighter.
Sure.
He's a politician. He's not used to holding a sword. He would have died immediately if he came across one
for
of them.
sure.
Of course.
The battle at the fort. Norrington's like, go barricade yourself in my office because you have no idea what you're doing.
You are useless.
Dude, take the L. Just go to your fucking room, wait this out.
Yeah.
We'll bring you some cookies.
And the fact that he has his own private little epic struggle with a severed hand is just delightful.
So great.
Especially when you don't see the hand after the curse has been lifted.
Right.
He opens a drawer and just
His
looks
reaction.
absolutely disgusted.
I want to talk about the use of the song in this movie. The use of Yo-Ho, parentheses, A Pirate's Life, for me, close parentheses. If you're going for kind of a more gritty take on pirate life that's not quite as cartoonish as the ride is, The song would have seemed out of place just to have a bunch of full-grown pirates on a ship just singing, "Yo ho, yo ho." But to introduce it into the narrative as a children's song, to have Elizabeth singing it in the opening scene, the haunting way she's singing it in the mist.
It's what we would call now the slow trailer version.
Well, it also has real horror movie vibes. It almost sounds like 1-2 Freddy's Coming for You.
And I also love how it both opens the movie with Elizabeth and it closes the movie with Jack, who's singing it in a more triumphant way.
And really bad eggs. Drink up, me hearties, yo-ho.
It's like poetry. They rhyme in the words of George Lucas.
And the implication is that he learned it from her.
Well, devils were black, you were really bad eggs. Drink up, me hearties, yo-ho. Yo-ho, yo-ho. I love this song.
And the lyrics of the original song were written by one of the Imagineers, Exitencio. Didn't he, write the lyrics in, 10 minutes or something?
Yes. I think a lot of people forget the pirate song that's very similar in Peter Pan.
There is, yeah.
A pirate's life is a wonderful life, a roving over the sea. Give me a career as a buccaneer, it's the life of a pirate for me. Oh, the life of a pirate for me.
I think Exitencio just kind of was following the formula there, because he wrote the script for the attraction.
He did, yeah.
All the dialogue. And then they needed the song that would start and end kind of in an ambiguous place, so you could just come into it at any moment. And so he wrote that song, and it ended up being the big iconic thing of the ride, so iconic that they copied that formula for Haunted Mansion.
In addition to just being the best Pirates movie, it's also the best looking Pirates movie.
Yes.
All the others, in my opinion, looked way too unnecessarily murky and gritty. There's some of that here. It's not squeaky clean, and it shouldn't be. It's a Pirates movie. But there's also some really good use of bright color as well. It doesn't all look so goddamn brown like the sequels do.
And on that subject, can we talk about how great the costume design in this movie is?
Oh my god.
Yes.
Penny Rose's work is masterful. Every character, every piece looks like it has a history, and they go well together. The texture is just palpable. Looking at any character, you can just understand how that piece of cloth feels and what it's been stained with over the years. It's remarkable.
I love Jack's intro so much.
Yes.
Oh my god, one of the best intros to anyone.
The sinking ship.
The triumphant score.
And he gets right to the edge of the dock. That must have been such a bitch to choreograph.
Oh yeah, because they did it mechanically back then.
And it looks so perfect.
I remember so many lines from this movie. I was quoting along with so many things. Everyone is, you best start believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner, you're in one.
Oh, so good.
My favorite line and my favorite delivery of a line in the movie is the exchange, "You don't want to be doing that, mate." "No, I really think I do." "Your funeral." And then he goes, "Why don't I want to be doing it?"
And the sheer exasperated look on his face. Jeffrey Rush plays such great exasperation.
Not just them two, but everyone surrounding Jack, just the pure annoyance towards him. You can feel them just wanting so much to just strangle him, but because he has all the information or the things that they need, they just have to keep him alive, and they really hate it.
I noted at one point, 3 of my favorite lines, or at least exchanges of dialogue in this movie, come right in a row when they're about to commandeer the ship. First, when he says, "We're gonna commandeer that ship," nautical term. I love that. I love when he's asking, "So how far are you willing to go?" "I would die for her." Oh, good. No worries then. That's fantastic. And then when they're underwater with the rowboat upside down over their heads.
Oh, I love that one.
And Will says, "This is either madness or brilliance." It's remarkable how often those two traits coincide. Another great line in this movie, it's not one of the more famous lines, but it's one of my personal favorites. When Jack stumbles into the cave and the pirates are like, "You're supposed to be dead."
Am I not?
Perfect.
"It's not possible.
Not probable." And he just politely goes, excuse me, as he's crossing by, and everyone turns around and goes like, what the?
And of course, the big climactic action star line is, You like pain, try wearing a
corset.
Corset.
It's such a cheeseball line, but you kind of have to love it, especially because Keira Knightley, she's like, I'm going to deliver this line to the best of my abilities.
I don't have a lot of corset experience. In fact, I don't have any, but we do have multiple cosplayers with us on this episode.
Teehee.
Are they really as constricting as the movie depicts them?
If you're talking about nowadays where we're just doing it for the sake of cosplay, probably not. But long ago, they're supposed to be more for functions than looks.
So this would be an era-appropriate corset that was that restricting.
I believe so. I've worn steel-boned ones, but, like, they've never actually hurt me.
Okay.
When you take them off, you kind of realize, oh, wow, I've been sucking that in for a while, but it's not her whole, like, I can't breathe.
The thing with corset is it's supposed to basically be the oldies version of what a bra is today.
Right.
It's not supposed to be uncomfortable. But I know there was this whole trendy thing going on where people try to like make their waists as thin as possible. So they would purposefully make some of them incredibly uncomfortable because you're literally just strangling yourself and changing the shape of your body. Her father was going like, well, I was told it's the latest fashion in London.
Well, women in London must have learnt not to breathe.
Maybe without knowing that the father just bought her a dress. It turned out to be one of those kinds. So she's just like, ugh.
If you do wear that tight for years and years, it can really like mess up your lungs and your rib cage. It really can.
Especially if you're not used to something like that. Every time they focused on Elizabeth fanning herself, showing obvious discomfort, it also showed the sun. And I'm guessing that area she's living is hot.
Yeah, it's not only hot, it's humid too.
It's the Caribbean, for God's sake.
Exactly. It goes without saying, but the dress was made in London, where most likely they haven't seen the sun in decades.
Not to mention the dress is literally dragging her down when Jack's trying to rescue her. He has to get rid of the dress because it's so heavy.
She went from drowning to floating by simply taking that corset off.
That moment when Jack saves Elizabeth is what screenwriters like to call a save the cat moment, and it is crucial for establishing that Jack is a good guy.
Yes.
Because he doesn't have to save Elizabeth in that moment.
He has no idea who she is, but he sees somebody just fell.
And that's what kind of endears him to the audience. When up to that point, it's a little ambiguous. Like, you think, is this guy a villain? Is he a hero? It's a little hard to get a read on him. Because there's also that amazing Bugs Bunny scene where he outfoxes the fucking British officers and tries to steal the ship, and has that great dialogue scene where he just keeps trolling them.
It is my intention to commandeer one of these ships, pick up a crew and Tortuga, raid, pillage, plunder, and otherwise pilfer my Weasley black guts out.
I said no lies.
I think he's telling the truth.
If he were telling the truth, he wouldn't have told us.
Unless, of course, he knew you wouldn't believe the truth, even if he told it to you.
He's just completely unconcerned with what they might do to him if they stop buying his bullshit.
That's the great thing about Jack Sparrow. At his best, in the best of these movies, he is Bugs Bunny, basically. In fact, he's so Bugs Bunny, Elizabeth literally says to him, "You're despicable."
You're despicable.
That's what I love about his character in this movie in particular, because in the other movies, they show him without a clue, and that's not fun.
Right.
If you watch Johnny Depp's eyes in any one of these scenes, you can tell Jack is hatching up a plan in the moment, and he has figured it out leagues before anybody else can catch up. And it's a miracle Will even does catch up toward the end when Jack steals the treasure for himself, so he has that leverage.
You've been planning this from the beginning. Ever since you learned my name.
In this first movie, I think Jack is using his insanity, his perceived weird quirkiness, as a mask for his true brilliance.
Yes.
Whereas in the sequels, I feel like he's just plain crazy.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. Everyone in this movie underestimates him to one degree or another.
Even when Norrington says, "You're the worst pirate I've ever heard of," but you have heard of me.
And then later, he gets the drop on all of them, and one of Norrington's assistants says, "Wow, that's the best pirate I've ever seen."
So it would seem. It's such a great line read from Jack Davenport. Speaking of, one thing I noticed in this movie that I haven't really noticed in any subsequent rewatch, y'all notice the tension between Norrington and Jack?
Oh, yeah.
It's so good. If this movie were made today, which it would not be in the same league, but there would be more tension, let's be real.
When Jack and Will are commandeering the Interceptor, Norrington at one point says,
I'd rather see her at the bottom of the ocean than in the hands of a pirate.
He's talking about the Interceptor, but we can tell he's also kind of talking about Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
Even his assistant can kind of tell. Like, you forget for a moment that they call ships by female pronouns.
As an 8-year-old girl, when this movie came out, I absolutely idolized Keira Knightley as Elizabeth Swann. It's not woke branded feminism where it beats you over the head with it. Like, movie 5 tried to do that.
Yeah.
This one shows that Elizabeth doesn't really know how to fight using a sword, but she's a pirate fangirl, so she understands how ships work. She understands how the pirate code should work. And she also has that bit of ingenuity and that spirit of adventure that keeps her going. That kind of spoke to the little 8-year-old girl in me who was just obsessed with her after this. I wanted to be Elizabeth. I wanted to be the Pirate King. And she does become the Pirate King eventually.
I love that Will and Elizabeth have opposite arcs as well.
Yes.
Elizabeth learns that pirates are less cool than she thought, and Will learns that they are more cool than he thought. So they both grow as people in opposite ways.
There's so many clever action sequences in this movie as well. And I remember, according to the original DVD commentary, Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio scripted the sword fights the same way William Goldman did it in The Princess Bride. They choreographed every move on the page. They timed their dialogue to it, and that's how they were able to do moments like, so when I move this way, you go, very good. I mean, I don't know any of the technical terms, obviously, but man, that method of doing it makes for such a more engaging experience than George Lucas just typing "they fight."
It does, because you then get to build a set and know, okay, this needs to have a part where they jump up onto these rafters here.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to use this big bag of sand. They're going to use this thing. Instead of just, okay, here's a set we built. I guess let's choreograph a fight that happens in this space.
Right.
Inherently, it's more creative to write it out.
And by the way, I admit I haven't seen every Disney movie. I'm working my way through them thanks to this podcast. But I think I can confidently say this was the first ever Disney movie to mention eunuchs.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure you're right about that.
Probably, yes.
Seeing less than what you have. I can confidently say that as well.
There's your PG-13 for you.
Totally went over my head as a kid.
This movie has a lot of adult material that it just kind of sneaks in there under the radar.
Yeah.
We spent our money on food and drink and pleasurable
company. Yes, there's a euphemism for you.
I feel nothing, not the spray of the sea or the wind in my hair or the touch of a woman's flesh.
It looks like a very simple movie, and it is, but the motive behind every character is actually super deep when you think about it, because it's not just about pirates that want gold and silver. They were giving back the gold and silver.
Oh, yeah.
Because at that moment, their biggest treasure that they needed was mortality of all things.
Yeah.
The ability to be alive again. They gained immortality, which a lot of people would probably do what they did for. Like, they would steal, kill, do whatever it takes to get immortality. These people gained it, but they don't want it anymore.
At the cost of their sense of touch and taste.
Exactly. It's much deeper than just, oh, we're gonna loot. You kind of have a little bit of sympathy for them. You're like, oh no, these poor guys, don't kill them. Jesus, stop.
You don't know that that's what they want initially, so that ends up being a great plot device to get characters who think they're doing the right thing in one moment are actually doing the exact opposite of what they should be doing. Like, Elizabeth thinks they're kidnapping her for conventional pirate reasons. Like, oh,
right.
I need to convince them that I'm not the governor's daughter. So, my name's Elizabeth Turner. But that's exactly what they wanted to hear, because they wouldn't care if she was the governor's daughter.
It's so clever in that regard, and how even as it's paying tribute to pirate movies, it's kind of subverting them. Like you said, they're not trying to steal treasure, they're trying to return it. That's the goal of the villains in this movie, of all people. And much as I love this movie, there is one... It's not really a plot hole so much as, I guess, an inconsistency. For cursed pirates who supposedly can't feel anything, there's quite a few moments when they feel stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like when Will throws the axe in the back of that one marauding pirate and then sees him later, like, how does the pirate even feel the axe in his back and fall over?
Yeah, I interpret that as they can feel stuff insofar as you need to feel stuff to move through the world, and they can feel pain and suffering, certainly, but they don't get pleasure. You know, they don't get true joy out of eating food or drinking water. Pleasurable sensations are just dead to them.
But then, when Elizabeth's walking the plank and she gives the dress back to Barbosa, he's like, oh, it's still warm. How would you know?
Because they can't feel anything, I thought that they were just pretending, just to troll the people. Say, for instance, when Will threw the axe, he's like, oh, and then he's like, all right, now I'm going to circle around and look for him again and basically say peekaboo to him just to screw with them. I thought that that was what they were trying to do because for years they haven't had much pleasures in life, so use what you got.
And also, I can't feel anything either. Did I mention that? But that's not as catchy as having ants in your eyes, so that always goes, off by the wayside. I can't feel. It's a very rare disease. All my nerves, they don't allow for the sensation of touch. So I never know what's going on. Am I standing, sitting? I don't know.
On the subject of logical inconsistencies, I've always been really bothered by two specific little nitpick moments. Mm-hmm. One is the apple that magically appears in Barbosa's hand as he's dying, just so it can poetically roll out of his hand.
Maybe he just kept the apple on him on the off chance.
He's got pockets.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Could have just had the apple in his pocket.
And the other is that Jack cocks his gun, points it right at Will with his finger on the trigger, and then gets hit over the back of the head and falls.
Yeah, and
his gun doesn't
not
go off.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
That's 1 in a million.
I feel like they missed a tremendous opportunity. I'm not sure exactly where it would have gone, but to have a beat where someone's pointing a gun straight at Orlando Bloom and someone else says fire at Will. Come on, it's right
I mean, to be fair, that's low-hanging fruit, but you're right. I would have done it.
I remember the reviews for this movie being almost surprised in how complimentary they were being towards it. I remember seeing the phrase, it's better than it has any right to be, a lot. And one area that really surprised the critics was the fact that even the references to the ride work. Biggest example, probably the jail scene.
Yeah, with the dog.
It fits perfectly into the narrative, and even the meta joke still works perfectly as a line of dialogue if you've never ridden the ride. You've been doing that forever, that dog is never gonna move.
Yeah.
It's so absurdly perfect on every possible level.
My favorite moment with the dog is the next morning when he's like, come on, you slimy, mangy cat. And it runs away because it hears the pirates coming. And he thinks, no, I didn't mean it.
The keys ran off.
I also love how they use Tortuga just as most of the ladder section of the attraction.
Right.
Those references are a lot of fun as well.
And originally, there were going to be more references to the ride. Like, originally, the way you entered Isla de Muerta was by rowing a rowboat through this narrow tunnel and then going down a waterfall to enter the underground chamber like you do on the ride. Ultimately, I think after the failure of the Country Bears, Eisner wanted them to write out most or all of the ride references so it would stand out on its own. But, I'm glad they were able to keep the ones that worked.
They certainly work better than... Like, at World's End just has that weird reference where they fall off the earth and then all of a sudden you hear original dialogue from the attraction.
You hear all these sound bites from the ride.
Shift your cargo, dearie. Show 'em your line. Tell.
Those make no sense.
Well, neither does anything else in At World's End.
That whole movie is Gore Verbinski flexing his auteur film nerd muscles a little too much for the kind of movie that it is.
Another reference to the ride, the original OG Redhead shows up on Tortuga to slap Jack.
Not sure I deserve that.
Oh, it's a cameo from Amber Heard.
Really, Tony? We had to go there?
Had to acknowledge the elephant in the room at least once, and now we don't have to acknowledge it ever again. Anyway, another actor we haven't talked about yet, Zoe Saldana. One of her first roles was in this movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it almost made her quit acting.
Yeah, she famously did not have a very good time on the set of this, but she's great in it.
Yeah.
And a tangential side note, back when I was making Some Jerk with a Camera, I never got around to doing videos on the Pirates movies, but one joke that I thought of in 2014 or so that I would have put in my Pirates video if I'd made one was the first time you see Zoe Saldana, it would have cut to me saying, Gamora? I don't know how long you've been here on Earth, but blackface is really offensive.
Oh my god, Tony.
I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
I mean, think about it. It kind of makes sense.
No, it's true.
One of the bits that Ted and Terry apparently added on set when they realized, oh, we don't have quite enough exposition to explain everything in this movie. We need Ted and Terry here to write the exposition in a clever way. The sea turtles bit. When Gibbs is telling Will the story of how Jack got off the island, they realized, oh, we need to clarify this more. The backstory isn't quite clear enough there. And the benefit, of course, of adding a scene like that so late in the game is that it allows Orlando to do that visual impression of Jack's drunken swagger, which was so fucking great.
Because Johnny Depp was just doing that weird quirkiness of Jack, they're like, I wonder if people are going to start questioning why he's like that.
Right.
Should we add a reason? Nah.
Reason's got nothing to do with it.
I want to talk about the fight scene between the two ships in the middle of the movie. The dialogue in that scene is almost entirely just nautical jargon. It's just people saying stuff like, Pearl's gonna luff up on our port quarter, and they're club hauling, hard a port, rack the starboard oars, and hands, grapnels at the ready. Because they're using all this lingo, I can barely understand what's going on, but it doesn't matter. I just know that it looks really cool and it sounds really cool, and you can tell the writers did their homework, and honestly, everything else is gravy. And I think that's a potent lesson for filmmakers. You don't always have to dumb everything down to the lowest common denominator, to the know-nothing dullards like me in the audience. Sometimes, if the characters all get it, then that's enough.
Yeah, this has enough context.
It sells that these people are professional sailors.
I feel like a lesser movie would have felt the need to dumb down all that dialogue and spell every little move out for the audience, and it just wouldn't have worked.
Turn the boat left. Their boat is coming up on our right with their front part of their boat.
It's a great action scene, too, because it's doing what the entire movie's been doing, balancing that hardcore action with those little comedic bits, like the crew doesn't have any cannonballs.
Because they threw them overboard seconds earlier.
So they just use whatever they can, and that happens to be forks.
They stuff spoons into the cannons.
I also love how they just tossed Mr. Gibbs' flask in there, and it flies to Jack, which Jack catches, tries to drink, but it's empty, still carries it anyway, and gives it back to Mr. Gibbs. The way everything in the movie just has a purpose and it rotates, it's just amazing.
And a fork gets stuck in Righetti's eye, which is so adorable.
All the business with Righetti's eye is just gold.
Yes.
It's wonderful.
Speaking of Pintel and Righetti,
oh yeah,
talk about two memorable characters, even in the sequels.
It made no sense for them to be there, but you kind of liked that they were there.
You know you can't read. It's the Bible. You get credit for trying.
The Why's the Rum Gone runner, so fantastic.
It literally just brought me back to like 2000s YouTube when they had that remix. The Why is the Rum Gone remix right next to they're taking the hobbits to Isengard.
Oh god.
And of course the sequel to that remix, I've got a jar of dirt. I've got a jar of dirt.
So many memes, so many wonderfully worthy memes that stem from this movie.
In the scene where Pintel and Righetti are telling Will about Bootstrap's backstory, there's this one moment.
That didn't sit too well with the captain.
That didn't sit too well with the captain at all. Tell him what Barbosa did.
I'm telling a story!
This movie predicted we don't talk about Bruno.
Yes.
Are you telling this story or am I?
I also love the thing that sways Barbosa to attack Norrington's crew is Jack promising him a really big hat.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the hat. You can see Barbosa going, you know what? I do want a really big hat.
Jack's whole runner about a dishonest man you can always trust to be dishonest.
Honestly. It's the honest ones you want to watch out for.
I love weird logic puzzles like that make a sort of anti-sense.
The man who did the waking was the man who was sleeping a drink. The man who was sleeping drinks it while listening to a proposition from the man who did the waking. And Gibbs takes 2 seconds to put that together in his head, and then he's like,
Aye, that'll do. Where was this for the Mad Hatter? This kind of dialogue is what we needed.
That's why you needed someone like Johnny Depp in this role. A more conventional actor like Matthew McConaughey just wouldn't have made lines like that sing. You need a sort of demented genius to really pull that off.
Yeah, and he walks that line perfectly in this movie. And unfortunately, pretty much only in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, Jack has his nuggets of wisdom, if you will, every once in a while in the sequels, but it stops being what we were talking about, how he just seems to read the room and know exactly where all exits are at all times, where he's 3 steps ahead of everyone. It turns into, I don't know, I just make it up as I go along, and somehow it all works for me.
So aside from McConaughey and obviously Johnny Depp, here's some of the other actors who were considered for Jack Sparrow, according to Wikipedia. First off, originally, and I'm talking like way back in the earliest drafts by Stuart Beattie, Jack Sparrow was written with Hugh Jackman in mind, hence the name Jack. But he wrote it back in the 90s, back when pretty much no one outside of Australia had even heard of Hugh Jackman, so that was a bit of a non-starter. Jim Carrey was seriously considered, though I think he would have been a little too cartoony.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Would have ruined the movie.
Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow does a lot of really good subtle acting.
Yeah.
Carrey would have gone way too over the top.
And again, Depp lost that subtlety in the sequels. People think of Jack Sparrow as a big over-the-top performance, but like you said, there are a lot of great subtle moments from Depp as well. He runs the gamut in this movie. Whereas in the sequels, he just played Jack way too crazy and stupid and obnoxious. He leaned into people's expectations, basically. Another actor considered for Jack Sparrow, Michael Keaton. I could maybe see that working if he went full Beetlejuice with it.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice with a pirate accent, I could maybe see that working.
Or like full crazy Bruce Wayne.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Maybe.
Cary Elwes was considered. Now, I could see a young Cary Elwes playing Will perfectly.
Yes. Yeah.
That would have been the more passing the torch movie of the aging Errol Flynn type versus the young Errol Flynn type. But I think it's way more interesting to go for a performance like Depp's.
I don't know where I heard this, but I heard that Robin Williams was also an option, right?
That might have been, yeah, because he has such a great track record with both pirate movies and playing a guy named Jack.
Robin Williams, it seems, was under consideration for just about every wacky character
Yeah, basically.
in his era. He was the studio's first pick for Hagrid as well, and J.K. Rowling said absolutely not.
Huh.
Yeah, she didn't want any American actors in the Potter movies. Imagine J.K. Rowling rejecting people because of who they are.
Yeah, I know.
So unlike her. But my favorite bonkers choice on the list, Christopher Walken.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Now, we later saw what happened when he played a pirate.
Peter Pan has found a mother. Oh, yeah.
This was just a year after the Country Bears. Oh no, the Black Pearl has been crushed.
This isn't over. Barbosa.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Ayaka and I will literally do the Christopher Walken oh no at each other.
When we see each other, we're like, oh no.
Oh no.
Now listen, well, the only rules that really matter are these. What a man can do and what he can't. Now you can accept that your father was a pirate and a good man. Well, you can't. But I can't bring the ship into Tortuga all by me onesie. Savvy?
Okay, I kind of need this now.
So the sword fight between the British Navy and the zombie pirates, I've heard some criticism of this movie. I remember some of the reviews at the time. In particular, Roger Ebert's review of this movie kind of fixated on this. He said, if you've got these undead pirate zombies fighting these mortal British Navy soldiers, isn't it kind of a foregone conclusion? Like, eventually the humans will get exhausted and die, and the pirates will be the victor no matter what, so there's no tension in these battles. And in a sense, I guess that's true, but I think what this movie realizes is, because of that, that's an excuse to get creative. That means the sword fight battle can't be the be-all, end-all of this. You gotta resort to some other tactics here, like the business between the governor and the disembodied skeleton arm.
Right.
Or when the non-zombie pirates knock the skeletons overboard with the swinging rowboat and the davit pulley swinging back and knocking Righetti's eye out of his head. Or especially, one of my favorite beats in this battle, Will ramming the long staff through 3 skeleton pirates and then putting the little bomb inside the middle one's abdomen and pushing them out of the moonlight. So this pirate's got a bomb trapped in his body.
No fair.
The tension of those fights is not who's gonna win. It's
Right.
are they gonna stall long enough to end the curse before the pirates overwhelm them?
Barbosa even comments on that when he's sword fighting Jack.
We'd be two immortals locked in an epic battle until Judgment Day and the trumpets sound. Or you could surrender.
It's changing the stakes. They're sword fighting, but they're not trying to kill each other. Jack's just trying to distract Barbosa long enough until he can kill him.
Yeah.
And when he does, holy shit.
That editing was so good, with Barbosa trapping Elizabeth, with Will up at the chest.
And Jack swiftly slicing his own hand and getting the blood on the coin and throwing it to Will with perfect precision timing.
And when you hear the gunshot, just like not knowing who shot where.
Yeah.
Or who.
And the curse is lifted, and the blood starts splattering out of Barbosa's chest.
I feel cold.
Oh, it's so hauntingly perfect.
With the possible exception of Rosebud, I am hard-pressed to think of any better dying words from any character in any movie. It is such a perfect encapsulation of the monkey's paw paradox. I finally got exactly what I wanted, and it's the opposite of what I wanted.
Yes.
They don't really show a lot of blood in this movie. They only show it when Elizabeth gets her hand sliced open, and then Will, and they save it for Jack shooting Barbosa. And it's a lot of blood, too, for a Disney movie.
Yeah. PG-13.
Yeah.
So then, of course, we have the denouement scene where Will and Elizabeth rescue Jack from the gallows. There's so many little things I love about the closing scene. Like, even at his own hanging, he's still just angry that he isn't being called Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, I also love his little chuckle when they said impersonating a clergyman of the Church of England. And he's like,
Good times that was.
That was a wild weekend.
It makes me want to see that adventure play
Where's
out.
that prequel? That
Yeah,
would
I know.
be fantastic.
I would love that.
And a gloriously excessive amount of bird shit in a Disney movie.
Yes.
That was nice. That was diarrhea that parrot had.
As someone who does own birds, though, I'm telling you, first thing in the morning.
Oh, that's accurate?
That is accurate,
Okay.
man.
Duly noted. Wow.
They make sure not to go in the middle of the night. They just hold it all in.
You are single-handedly keeping print media in business with the newspapers you have to buy, I'm guessing.
Actually, that is true, yeah.
I love the moment when Jack Sparrow's saying, well, I'm very happy with all this, and he gets way too close to the governor in his personal space, and Jonathan Pryce just gives this great disgusted face. You can tell Sparrow's breath fucking stinks.
It's great.
We've all arrived at a very good place. Spiritually, ecumenically, grammatically.
When Jack says,
Elizabeth, it would never have worked between us, darling.
Knightley just gives that look like, you know what, I've changed my mind, fucking kill him.
Yeah.
She's like, why did I save this guy?
She's still trying to process it.
And then, of course, Will, the man who saves him, who did everything in that moment. Nice hat.
Nice hat.
Yep.
The parting words.
When Norrington says,
This is a beautiful sword. I would expect the man who made it to show the same care and devotion in every aspect of his life.
that line always bothered me because most of the time it's just the opposite. Most people who are really, 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 really good at a certain skill got that way by sacrificing the care and devotion of every other aspect of their lives in favor of this one all-consuming hyperfixation.
When he says expect, what he's saying in that moment is you better treat Elizabeth right.
Yeah, that's okay. I get it.
While Elizabeth's father didn't notice that Will's the one that made the sword when he showed it to him, he's like, oh, compliments to
your master.
Yeah. Commodore actually knows that Will's the one that made that sword.
Right.
Aw, he noticed.
That's one thing I really like about this movie is that nobody's a complete bastard or a complete saint.
That's kind of the point of the movie.
Everyone's got some nuance to them. Even Barbosa has a very clear, understandable goal. He wants this curse to be lifted.
I want to feel again.
One could even argue that he doesn't deserve to die, even though he has an amazing death scene, and ultimately they do bring him back from the dead in the sequels, which...
Yeah, they retcon that.
I have my issues with that, but we're not talking about the sequels, even though we have talked about the sequels a lot in this episode.
To me, they take place in a different universe. They feel like such different movies.
The pirate universe.
This first movie feels grounded. It feels like it takes place in the real world, but there's a weird curse.
There's one magic element, which is the curse and what it does to you.
But then the next movies literally take place in the world of Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Oh, you can sail off the edge of the earth. Davy Jones is real. Calypso is real. The Kraken is real. And everyone just accepts all of this.
At least the sequels are aware enough to know that the big bad in the entire franchise was capitalism all along.
Well, yes.
Okay, yeah, I'll give it that much.
I can never think of Pirates as just the one movie. I always think of it as the trilogy and then those other two pieces of shit.
Which sucks, because if it was just one movie, it would basically be one perfect movie as opposed to a very, very uneven franchise.
Disney's gonna Disney, Tony. We have to make franchises out of everything that's even moderately popular.
The big bad really is capitalism.
Today, there would be a pirate cinematic universe.
Well, there will be.
They are developing, or at least they were for a while, a kind of reboot of the Pirates franchise centering on... Is Karen Gillan still attached?
I thought it was
Margot Robbie.
Yeah, I heard both at various times, but that it would center on Red, the new character that's been added to the new version of the ride. I think a really cool thing for that movie to do would be bookend the movie with the two different versions of the auction scene. Open it with the old version of the scene and close it with the new version of the scene and show her journey from one version of the character to another.
That would be
Now,
awesome.
that would be interesting. Obviously, there are people who still do the "we wants the redhead." And I have my thoughts about the changes made. I know you've already done a video on this, Tony.
I have no thoughts whatsoever. If you want to know my thoughts, watch that video.
I'm kind of on this middle ground.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's the stuff that did happen. But also, I do have to acknowledge that times they change.
I had an idea for a video that was just going to be a response to that notion of, but that's what Pirates really did, which was to go through the ride and enumerate every single historical inaccuracy in it down to the most ridiculously minute clothing detail. Because there are a lot.
If I really want to go on the original version of the ride, I'll just save my money and go to Japan again.
There you go. We also got to mention, this movie has a pre-MCU post-credits scene.
Yes! Every movie has one.
I'll be honest, I actually did not know that scene existed for like several years.
Yeah, same. It was probably just like one day that I was watching the DVD, I got distracted by something else during the credits, and then it started playing, and that's when I realized, oh, we need to stick around for the credits. Especially for movie 3, which has the craziest end credits of all of them.
And I want to talk about that DVD, the 2-disc DVD set of this movie that everyone had at the time, because that DVD set had a ton of great special features. It had a bunch of commentaries and deleted scenes.
On the subject of deleted scenes, there is one that I do wish was still in the movie. Most of them were cut just to tighten it up. It's the one on the island where Elizabeth's like, you lay it around on a beach for 3 days drinking rum. Is there any truth to the other stories? And he briefly goes over several of his various scars and tattoos without explaining them, and then says, no truth at all, and walks away.
I do remember that scene, yeah.
That would have been a cool little moment.
That scene on the island was longer in a couple of ways. There was also a bit where Jack kind of catches everyone up on the plot up to that point.
You were going to tell Barbosa about the will in exchange for a ship.
We could use a ship. The fact is, I was going to not tell Barbosa about Bloody Will in exchange for a ship, because as long as he didn't know about Bloody Will, I had something to bargain with, which now no one has, thanks to bloody stupid Will.
There was so much bonus content that was available. There was a vlog. This is like old school vlog by Lee Ehrenberg, who plays Pintel.
That.
The one thing that I remember is that he's hitting on Keira Knightley.
Oh, God.
And in hindsight, knowing she was 17 during filming is pretty cringe.
Beautiful Keira. Amazing 17-year-old with more maturity than I'll ever have.
I don't know how old Lee Ehrenberg is, but I know that he was already an adult when they shot Freaked 10 years earlier.
You want to know what we haven't brought up yet, Tony? And this is a big one. We never brought up the score.
Oh, the score is so great. Credited to Klaus Badelt, although apparently Hans Zimmer also did a lot of work on it.
They were kind of collaborators at the time.
I still listen to it in the car, and it makes me feel like I can go out into the world and conquer anything.
Drive your car through like the highway and just going, wahoo!
I definitely will blast it every once in a while when I need a source of inspiration.
Oh, same.
It's not even just that score. It's also the score when they're commandeering the Interceptor. It's the score when Elizabeth's on the deck of the Black Pearl and all of the pirates are just in their skeletal form.
One thing that blows my goddamn mind about this movie, when I looked this up, is how quick the turnaround on it was. They started filming this movie in October 2002. They wrapped filming in March 2003. It was in theaters July 2003. That is an insanely quick turnaround for a massive 2.5-hour CGI-intensive tentpole blockbuster. It's insane that they got it done in time and that it looks this good and is this good.
I want them all to get back together in 5 or 10 more years and shoot a little 5-minute scene. Will is back from being captain of the Flying Dutchman. He and Elizabeth have kids now, and they're over at the governor's mansion for dinner, and the governor's like, you know, I never figured out who broke the chandelier that one day. It's just such a... And he puts it together right then and there.
Whoops.
Now, normally, this would be the point in the show where we do a segment called What's the Attraction? Where we go around in a circle and speculate how they're going to work whatever the hell we just watched into the parks. But that seemed a smidge redundant for Parks Month. In our first week, we tried a variant of that segment called What's Not the Attraction? Where we asked what attraction would close and be replaced with something else. But since this movie uses the ride as a jumping off point, I'd like to introduce another different Parks Month variant called What Else is the Attraction? Because this movie was such a hit, naturally, lots of stuff from it went into the parks. In 2006, the ride itself was updated. Your mileage will vary on whether or not it improved, with a new storyline and several Jack Sparrow animatronics. And of course, they turned Tom Sawyer Island into Pirate's Lair on Tom Sawyer Island. They just injected a bunch of pirate stuff into the parks, some of which has stayed to this day, some of which is gone now. But of course, now that the late millennials and older members of Gen Z are finally starting to get old enough to be nostalgic for stuff, this movie will take on a whole new appreciation and become the most watched title on Disney+. How will they inject even more stuff from this movie in particular into the parks? Sydney.
We're gonna have another giant premiere for Pirates of the Caribbean. Same as the one in 2003. Because we like to pretend that COVID doesn't exist sometimes.
Ayaka.
You know what? I'd be happy if they just bring back Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow and he just minds his own business and starts taking over all of the shops.
Chris.
They are going to add animatronic pirates to the bird perches of the Enchanted Tiki Room. All of the parrots will now be sitting on the shoulder of a mute pirate throughout the entirety of the show.
Well, unfortunately, you're all wrong.
Oh, nuts.
What they are gonna do is keep the ride mostly as it is, but then as you go through it, the ride is going to be taken over by Zoe Saldana as Gamora. She's gonna fly the Milano into the show building, and she's gonna kidnap all the pirates as revenge, and it'll be the Guardians of the Galaxy.
So it's Mission Breakout 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, final verdict, folks. I probably don't even need to ask, but just to make it official, is Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl a Disney Plus or a Disney minus? Chris?
Absolutely a Disney Plus. This movie is perfect. You could use this movie to study screenwriting. It is so well written and well structured from a dialogue perspective, a structure perspective, the acting, the production design, the directing, the score, everything is perfect. The sequels are like a sinking ship, but this is the one where the ship is proudly flying in the breeze.
Ayaka?
Disney plus for sure. Plus Ultra. There's almost nothing wrong with it. I can watch this movie anytime, any day of any part of the year. It's just a great, great film.
Sydney?
Definite Disney Plus for me. As I was watching it on the big screen, my parents came in about halfway through the movie. They finished watching the movie with me and they got to relive those fun memories of when we saw it way back in the day and just kind of recaptured that magic, because it's still there, even if the sequels taint your perspective a little bit. If you haven't seen it in a while, it's still worth a watch.
Well, it is absolutely unanimous. This is a huge Disney plus for me. This is one of the best movies on Disney Plus, I would say. maybe top 10. Definitely, I'd say at least top 20. I'm reticent to call this a perfect movie just because I don't know if a perfect movie exists, but it's damn close. The only things I could maybe criticize about it are extremely minor nitpicks. This is such a fantastic piece of cinema. I was reminded why I fell in love with it all over again when I watched it. God damn, it's great. Drink up me hearties, yo to the motherfucking ho.
And a Jeffrey Rush arr.
Arr. Who's got stuff to plug?
A couple years ago, I actually made 2 videos about Pirates of the Caribbean, the attraction, on my YouTube channel, Remain Seated with Chris Nebergall. You can find the 2 videos there. One is about the original attraction and the whole Imagineering and history of it. And the second video is about the 1997 and 2006 changes that the attraction received. So go check those out. I also have a podcast called Land Before Timeland, in which myself and my co-host Madeline May review every single Land Before Time movie, and there are 14 of them, if you can believe that. And we are currently working on a sequel podcast, which will hit the interwebs at some point in the future, about the equally expansive Air Bud and Air Buddies franchise. So look forward to that.
Did Air Buddies ever do a pirate movie? They did Treasure Buddies, right?
We haven't gotten to the Buddies films yet. We've watched all 5 Air Bud films, but I know they did like every genre. I think Treasure Buddies might be more of like an Indiana Jones knockoff.
Okay.
Rather than a pirate movie, but I'll certainly tell you when my co-podcaster and I get around to that.
If you want to hear my Diz Twitter takes, because I am part of that sphere on Twitter, you can follow me at the Derpy Hipster. And that is for Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr. I occasionally post art, memes, and pictures of my life as a Disney cast member.
I currently don't really have anything. I have an Instagram, but it's been not active for a while.
Plug your porg, Ayaka.
I do have my porg, actually. I am that crazy porg lady, so if you want to follow a random porg in his little adventures, I do have an Instagram. It's Puga the Porg, PUGA_THE_PORG.
And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at Tony Goldmark. And you can also follow this show on Twitter at EFVD Podcast. I've also got a Facebook fan group you can join called Some Jerk with a Fan Club. And I've got a YouTube channel, youtube.com/Tony Goldmark, where you can find the aforementioned video, State of the Parks, We Wants the Redhead, where I dissect and discuss the 2017 Pirates of the Caribbean ride changes, along with all 3 seasons of my web series, Some Jerk with a Camera, along with a bunch of other videos about movies and theme parks, and even a few scant episodes of this very podcast. You can find every episode of this podcast at pipedreampodcast.com, as well as all the usual outlets like Audible, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. If you like what you've been hearing and you'd like to help us out, please subscribe, please leave a review, please give us 5 stars. All that stuff helps us get discovered by the almighty algorithm. If you'd like to help us out even more, you can donate to my Patreon, patreon.com/Tony Goldmark, where if you pledge any amount, even the bare minimum of $1 a month, you get to hear new episodes of this podcast 1 day early on Tuesdays instead of Wednesdays most weeks. Once again, that's patreon.com/Tony Goldmark. Special thanks to all my patrons. You don't know how much it means to me. Well, Parks Month just keeps on riding along, and I am joined now by one of my guests on next week's episode, Garrett Snook. How you doing, Garrett?
I am doing fine.
Are you ready to read off the randomizer's pick for our 4th week of Parks Month?
I can confidently say I am.
Okay, Smart House, initiate random shuffle mode, please.
Initiating random shuffle mode.
Make a selection.
And the winner is...
Magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom 2020.
Magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom. That is a series, I do believe. There are 8 episodes, so Garrett, if you would be so kind as to open a new tab and Google random number generator, then plug in 1 through 8 and see what it gets you.
Episode 3.
Episode 3. That would be Season 1, Episode 3, Betty and the Beast. All right, join us next week for our 4th week of Parks Month right here on Escape from Walt Disney, when we will cover Magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom, Season 1, Episode 3, Betty and the Beast.
Some inebriation, huh?
You can keep doing that forever. The dog is never going to move.